If you don't live in a cave, you might have heard some talk about Red Dead Redemption 2 lately. And if you've been watching my Fallout series, you know exactly where this is going. We're going to compare the guns of Red Dead Redemption 2 to the real world and attempt to answer whether the gunplay scene in this game is in any way realistic. A few folks have asked why we cover video games on this channel. Well, we like playing games, and we like shooting, and games have guns in them. So we talk about guns in video games, we talk about guns in movies, and if any of us could read, we'd talk about guns in books. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a Western-themed prequel to the original Red Dead Redemption from Rockstar Games. Think of it like Grand Theft Auto and the Old West. Like the GTA series, it takes place in fictional locales that are intended to be reminiscent of real-world places. To say that it is an open-world game is a bit of an understatement. The world of Red Dead Redemption 2 is staggeringly large. Open-world games don't typically have a linear plot or defined levels. You don't race to the end of a level and rescue a princess. Instead, the purpose of the game is to explore the world and the story of Arthur Morgan, the game's protagonist. That's not to say that it's a simple sandbox. There are multiple interdependent plot lines, and the actions of the character influence the events of the game.
Alright, I think we lost him.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was
Stupid and dangerous. Thank you, Bill.
The writing and voice acting are top-notch, and it's easy to immerse yourself in the stunningly rendered world. Rockstar has always excelled at this compared to most other studios, but this game plays like a well-written movie. One of the things I've always enjoyed about westerns is they tend to have the best dialogue. Movies like Open Range and True Grit employ complex, powerful, and beautifully expressive prose. Red Dead Redemption follows this tradition with dialogue that makes you not only invested in what the characters have to say, but how they say it.
You saved my life. You're a good man, and here. You want a pen? It's one of them steel ones.
Oh. That's very kind of you. But I'm not a good man, Jimmy Brooks. Not usually. You see, I was in Blackwater. I killed people. And maybe I should have killed you. Should I have killed you, Jimmy Brooks?
Me? I never saw you. Not now, not never. I think we have an understanding.
Of course we do. Jimmy Brooks. I will remember that. I've got a good memory.
I haven't. Not one lick. Not 1 cent.
And the sound design is insanely detailed and convincing. There is a creak in the wooden floor as your weight shifts when you begin walking before your other foot strikes the floor. People and animals breathe, and you can hear them breathing harder when they've been walking quickly. Skin looks real. It's even slightly translucent, like real skin, such that you can see the sunlight shining through a character's ear or nose through a technique called subsurface scattering. Red Dead Redemption carries over many of the same game mechanics and themes from the original. While it doesn't pretend to be historical simulation, it gets a lot of details right, and the world really feels real. Especially the guns. Everything in this game is beautiful and visually faithful to the real world, and the guns are no exception. Rockstar chose to continue the perplexing video game tradition of making up names for some of the guns in the game as if they are uncomfortable with the name of the actual manufacturers. For example, the Colt single-action Army is called the Cattleman revolver, but the Schofield revolver is correctly named. Apparently, only companies that are no longer in business are okay to name correctly. Names aside, the guns look exactly like the real-world examples. If you are fond of guns, you'll likely appreciate the attention to detail paid to these old designs. There is some weird technical stuff in the catalog, and the customizations the gunsmith performs are bizarre. Why would you need to add rifling to my revolver? Did it come with a smoothbore? Is that even something a small-town 19th century gunsmith could do? And if I didn't mention the strange damage model, you guys would really get into me. The worst example here is the Volcanic. The damage in the game is greater than that dealt by the Cattleman revolver or the Schofield, but both those pistols were commonly available in a variety of 44 and 45 caliber brass-cased cartridges of the modern type, albeit with black powder propellant. The Volcanic was chambered in .41 rocket ball. While that might not sound all that different from 44 and 45, it was light for caliber with a small powder charge and low velocity. It produced less than 60 foot-pounds of energy. By way of comparison, the 4440, which was a common chambering for a Colt Peacemaker, produced literally 10 times the energy. There's even an anecdotal report of a man attempting and failing to commit suicide with multiple rounds of 41 rocket ball to the head. It's safe to say that the Arizona Ranger from the Marty Robbins song would not be found with a volcanic on his hip. But the volcanic looks cool, and I'm sure that's all Rockstar had in mind when they included it in the first Red Dead Redemption. After its appearance in the original, they couldn't very well leave it out of Red Dead Redemption 2, and as underpowered as it was, you have to admit the concept was pretty cool. A lever-action, magazine-fed pistol is a pretty neat idea when you consider it was introduced at roughly the time that the through-bore revolver cylinder was first patented. Another issue that irked me a little was the fact that there's one type of ammunition for all pistols and another type of ammunition for all carbines. Technical issues like that are minor, though, and the exception rather than the rule. The guns in this game look and handle like real guns. That is, they recoil, produce smoke, and they must be manually operated. Most guns back then were single action. That means they had a hammer that had to be cocked for each shot to be fired. The game does include automatic pistols and a double-action revolver, but the iconic Old West games like the Colt Single-Action Army require that you manually pull the hammer back, which causes the cylinder to rotate a fresh cartridge into place before you can pull the trigger to fire. The phrase single action means that the trigger performs the single action of releasing the hammer as opposed to the double actions of drawing the hammer back and releasing it as performed by the trigger of a double-action revolver. While the loading animations feel frustratingly slow in the middle of a fight, they are optimistically fast. Nobody can reload those guns as quickly as Arthur Morgan does. But if he actually took as long as it does in real life, the game wouldn't be that fun. Aside from the loading animations, I think they got the guns pretty close. This isn't a simulation, but the guns in this game feel right. And that's coming from a gun nerd. Like you, I annoy my wife to no end by interrupting that badass freeway shootout scene in Deadpool to point out that a scar doesn't click when you pull the trigger if it's empty.
Someone's not counting. 6.
Or that shotguns can't throw a bad guy across an alley like in open range. There isn't a lot of that sort of thing in this game. The question hanging in the air, though, is whether anyone can actually run single-action black powder guns as fast as Arthur Morgan does in the game.
Shit!
The short answer? Hell yes. In fact, not only are there folks who can shoot as fast as he does, a lot of folks can actually shoot those old guns much faster than Morgan. To meet some of them, I went to Ben Avery shooting range north of Phoenix to watch an Arizona cowboy shooters match. These guys are crazy fast. They make Arthur Morgan's Deadeye look sensible. To be fair, they're shooting light loads intended to generate little recoil, but these aren't Nerf guns. They're still shooting live ammo. It would still put a hole through a man, and even with full power loads like those produced in 1899, these guys could still shoot circles around Arthur Morgan. Men and women of all skill levels compete at cowboy action shooting. It's a fun sport that folks enjoy as much for the cosplay and camaraderie as for the gunplay. There are many different divisions defined by the guns used, style of shooting, propellant, and even the costume worn. For example, there are divisions for cap and ball revolvers as opposed to cartridge guns. There are also different divisions depending on how you choose to fire your gun. Duelists use only one hand to cock and fire their revolvers, while gunfighters fire their revolvers from both hands. In other categories, the shooter uses both hands to shoot and generally cocks the hammer with the offhand. There's even a division for black powder because the smoke adds an extra challenge factor in obscuring the target. That's something that Red Dead doesn't quite get right. The amount of smoke generated by the dark side, as these competitors refer to it, is really quite surprising. There are no prizes for winning, just bragging rights and maybe a pin, but matches often hold a drawing so even the loser can win something. The point of all this? Simply the fact that it is ridiculously fun. Several shooters confided to me with a wink that it's the most fun you can have with your pants on. You do have to wear pants though. I asked. Sorry James, no booty shorts allowed. You must wear clothing appropriate to the Old West or Victorian styles. Depending on the organization sponsoring the match, the degree of historical accuracy varies, and in some cases, clothing that is simply suggestive of Old West style, like a button-up shirt and jeans, is allowed. They are friendly and eager to welcome new shooters though, so don't let that hold you back. If you like playing Red Dead Redemption, why not come down and watch a match? Worst that could happen is you end up hooked on a new sport. If you do good end up hooked on cowboy action shooting, you're gonna need some ammo, partner. So you may as well mosey on over to the Ventura Munitions website to rustle up what you need. As you know, Ventura is our sponsor, and without them, we couldn't make these videos. I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day.
Yeah! Very nice.
Nice job.